Good day to all of you. I will be discussing the learning theory of Howard Gardner and Edward Lee Thorndike. Now let's talk about first the theory of Gardner, which is the multiple intelligence. Gardner theory proposes that people are not born with all of the intelligence they will ever have. This theory challenged the traditional notion that there is one single type of intelligence, and sometimes known as G for general, that only focuses on cognitive abilities. Thus, to broaden this notion of intelligence, Gardner introduced 8 different types of intelligence, and these are linguistic intelligence, logical mathematical intelligence, spatial intelligence, bodily kinesthetic intelligence, musical intelligence, interpersonal intelligence, intrapersonal intelligence, and naturalist intelligence. Now, before that, Gardner notes also that the linguistic and logical mathematical intelligence are most typed valued in school and society. This theory of Gardner, which is the multiple intelligence, was first proposed by Howard Gardner in his 1983 book entitled Frames of Mind, where he broadens the definition of intelligence and outlines several distinct types of intellectual competencies. Also, he writes that we may all have this intelligence, but our profile of this intelligence may differ individually based on genetics or experience. Gardeners also define intelligence as a biopsychological potential to process information that can be activated in a cultural setting to solve problems or create products that are of value in a culture. Now let's begin. First intelligence of Gardner is the linguistic intelligence. Linguistic intelligence deals with sensitivity to the spoken and written language, ability to learn languages, and capacity to use language to accomplish certain goals. And only people who have this intelligence are like William Shakespeare and Oprah Winfrey, in which they have an ability to analyze information and create products involving oral and written language such as speeches, books, and memos. Next is logical mathematical intelligence. This intelligence refers to the capacity to analyze problems logically, carry out mathematical operations, and investigate issues scientifically. People who have this are like Albert Einstein and Bill Gates, in which they have an ability to develop equations and proofs, make calculations, and solve abstract problems. And the careers that can dominate with this intelligence are mathematician, accountant, statistician, scientist, and computer analyst. Spatial intelligence. Spatial intelligence features the potential to recognize and manipulate the patterns of wide space, those used, for instance, by navigators and pilots, as well as the patterns of more confined areas, such as those of importance to sculptors, surgeons, chess players, graphic artists, or architects. People with this intelligence are like Frank Lloyd Wright and Amelia Earhart, in which they have an ability to recognize and manipulate large-scale and fine-grained spatial images. Bodily kinesthetic intelligence. This intelligence, the potential of using one's whole body or parts of the body to solve problems or to fashion products. People with this intelligence are like Michael Jordan and Simon Biles, in which they have an ability to use one's own body to create products, perform skills, or solve problems through minds and body union. Then the careers you could have in this intelligence are like dancer, athlete, surgeon, mechanic, carpenter, carpenter. Intelligence. This musical intelligence refers to the skill in the performance, composition, and appreciation of musical patterns. And this intelligence is having an ability to recognize and create musical pitch, rhythm, timbre, and tone. And the careers you could have in this kind of intelligence are like singers, composers, DJ, musician. And people who have this are like Beethoven and Ed Sheeran. Interpersonal intelligence. The capacity to understand the intentions, motivations, and desires of other people and consequently to work effectively with others. Like what I have said, having an ability to recognize and understand the other people's moods, desires, motivations, as well as intentions. Now, the careers you could have in this intelligence are teacher, psychologist, manager, salespeople, and public relations. Only people who have this kind of intelligence are like Mahatma Gandhi and Mother Teresa. Intrapersonal intelligence. The capacity to understand oneself, to have an effective working model of oneself including own desires, fears, and capacities, and to use such information effectively in regulating one's own life. Meaning, an abilities to recognize and understand your own moods, desires, motivations, and intentions. And this type of intelligence can help a person to understand which life goals are important and how to achieve them. Careers you could have in this kind of intelligence are like a therapist, psychologist, counselor, entrepreneur, and clergy. Only people who have this intelligence are like Aristotle and Maya Angelou. Lastly, the naturalist intelligence. It involves expertise in the recognition and classification of the numerous species, the flora and fauna of his or her environment. This intelligence is an ability to identify and distinguish among different types of plants, animals, and weather formations that are found in the natural world. The careers you could have with this intelligence are botanist, biologist, astronomer, met meteorologist, geologist, and only people who have this intelligence are like Charles Darwin and Jane Goodall. Move on to the learning theory of Edward Lee Thorndike, which is the trial and error. Also, this is often called as connectionism or association theory. This theory was based on the Thorndike's experiment on the hunger cat, and according to him, the behavior of those animals is giving a description of learning process. That is basic of learning is association. A stimulus will result generate a certain response. Thorndike theory explains learning is change of behavior that can be observed, measured, and assessed concretely. The change of stimulus will generate a response based on mechanistic law. Based on Thorndike, learning is phenomenon that grows associations between one event to another event, which is called as stimulus with response. Now, stimulus is a changing of external environment that become sign to activate organism to react and act, while a response is behavior that is raised by stimulus. Also, because of this theory of Thorndike is known as pioneer in education psychology. In addition, there are three main concepts of this theory, and these are the law of readiness, law of exercise, and law of effect. Now, first is the law of readiness. Law of readiness. Learner must be ready and in condition in order to be success in his learning. Meaning the learner should be physically and psychologically ready and in condition. Beside, learner must be readiness in mastering a science and its basic competence. Based on Thorndike, there are some conditions that appear in this law, such as first, if there is a preference to act and people want to do it, they will be satisfied. In consequence, they will do not act other behavior, and it will result unsatisfied. Second condition, if there is inclination to act, but people do want to do that, they will replace with other action to lack of their unsatisfied. And third is if there is no tendency to act, but people are forced to do that, it will result unsatisfied. Now, the law of readiness has an implication that every organism acquires changing of behavior, and in its implication of this behavior result a satisfaction. Then the association will be strengthened. Therefore, this connectionism theory states that learning is an activity that forms association or connection between an impression of five senses and tends to act. For example, Anna who likes to cook or Anna likes to cook, then she will do the thing, and if she does that, she will feel satisfied and happy. The second law is the law of exercise. Learners should do trials and practice infrequently in order to have the suitable and satisfied result to respond and stimulus. And the trials behavior is an existence of improvement behavior to make the behavior stronger and to make them remembered by long-term memory of a person. He or she should repeatedly do an action to record the behavior to short-term memory, and it will be continued to long-term memory. According to Thorndike, the main principle of learning is repetition. Because of that teacher who gives a question, the student will answer it and make the prestige of student increase. Thus, Thorndike states that repetition without a reward is not effective because association of stimulus and response can be strengthened through reward. Lastly is the law of effect. Every organism has own response in facing a new stimulus and a new situation. If organism determines a response or action that possesses a satisfaction to that organism in facing the new situation and condition, they will do the same action if later they face same situation and condition. Meanwhile, behavior which do not possess satisfaction in facing the new situation, this action will be abandoned forever by the organism. This thing will be occurred to all organisms automatically. Also, Thorndike states that organism as a mechanism that will react if there is a stimulus than situation which affect them. In education area, law of effect is happened to someone who gives punishment or reward. However, in education, the thing that can give the reward will be more effective than a punishment. Also, Thorndike theory actually is stated as connectionism theory because in learning, this theory more emphasizes to law of effect, which state that connection between stimulus and response can produce an effect. Thorndike believes that the process of animals learning is same with the humans learning, although the relation between situation and action of animal is without an understanding. Animals do the respond directly from what they observed mechanically. This law shows that if the connection or relation can be modified like relation between stimulus and response, and that relation can be followed by the expected event in order to make the relation much stronger. In contrast, if the unexpected event happen, the relation can be weak. Connection between five senses and tendency to act is based on the result. For example, the teacher who motivate and give reward to students who do a homework, that students will happily do the homework. But if the teacher always give a punishment to student, probability students will be lazy to do the homework. Now, the main principle of this theory of Thorndike is learning is exercised repeatedly. Because of that, learning must be oriented to give exercise as stimulus so that learner can give a response for that stimulus. And hopefully by doing those things, the prestige and ability of student can be increased. Also, Thorndike states that in learning is process between stimulus and response.